guys, welcome to Bastion Time. I'm your host Bastion. This is Nintendo News. Let's get to that news, shall we? First of all, this is, I don't know, I'm on a swivelly chair, so I'm twisting around a lot. It's fun. Anyways, working my obliques while I'm recording the news. Not really, it's not that good of a workout, but anyways, let's get to the news instead of babbling. Actually, this is very sad news. Well, I mean, the results that I'm going to be talking about now is good, but it comes from a very sad, dark place, which is that a Pokemon Go player months and months and months ago, when it was a thing, I mean, is anybody still playing Pokemon Go? I certainly haven't in quite a while, but anyways, I digress. A Pokemon Go player was out kind of late at night, trying to catch some Pokemon, because you gotta catch them all, and they encountered somebody who was obviously crazy or something, but that crazy person strangled them to death, which, you know, awful. But anyways, because the justice system is so slow, it took until just yesterday for that person to go on trial, and they got a life sentence, which, I mean, I don't know. Again, I always say I try to not talk about political stuff or whatever in my videos, but I'm okay with people getting life sentences. I don't really know, I don't have a well thought out opinion on death penalty and stuff. I don't necessarily know that taking this person's life balances this convict's life or whatever balance. I don't know. I have no idea. I will figure my own opinion out about that someday, but I'm perfectly glad that this person got a life sentence at least. Well deserved. You know, apparently he didn't try to use a defense of insanity or anything, because apparently he's not insane, so I just can't understand why somebody sees somebody playing a game and is like, you know, how they decide to kill this person or whatever. I mean, maybe it wasn't premeditated, maybe they didn't approach the person thinking they were going to kill them, but maybe there was some kind of altercation or whatever, like maybe this person who committed this crime just didn't like people walking around his neighborhood playing their Pokemons or whatever, and tried to have a discussion with this person. Whatever the response from the Pokemon Go player is, by no means should a life have been lost. So anyways, I'm just glad that he got the life sentence and didn't get off the crime or whatever. So yeah, if you want to read more about that news article, there's a link down there for you. Our next story is much happier, and it's about the fact that there has been a patch release for Breath of the Wild. It's the 1.1.1 patch, and apparently it dramatically improves frame rate in a couple of instances. My suspicion is that this patch probably does what they had needed to do in the first place, which was apparently these frame rate issues were caused by the fact that the Switch, for whatever reason, is constantly checking to see if your Wi-Fi is connected in instances where you don't need to be Wi-Fi connected. So it's constantly running the is Wi-Fi connected task, and of course that's using some CPU. So probably what this patch does is disables that, except in instances where it's needed. So that's probably what's going on, but I don't know for sure. We'll probably read more about it in upcoming days, but anyways, if you want to read about it, there's a link down there for you. This next story is difficult for me to talk about because I have some pretty controversial opinions about things, as you may or may not know about me. And they don't always line up in what you would perceive about me just from watching my videos and or my opinions about other things. Without getting into any talk about the political spectrum, I'm not going to address where I fall in that, but what I will say is that I have some conflicting opinions that don't always fit in one particular camp. So that's tricky for me sometimes. But anyways, without getting into any of that, I will say this is about PETA. Now, I know just saying the word PETA is going to inspire a lot of rage from 99.999% of you, because a lot of people don't understand what PETA's really doing when they put out these crazy, ridiculous advertisements. So first of all, let me come clean and say, I used to be a vegetarian. So I used to have an affinity for PETA. I lost that affinity for PETA before I stopped being a vegetarian, and the only reason really why I stopped being a vegetarian is purely superficial. It's because games. It's much easier if your fitness goals involve putting on as much muscle as possible. You're limiting yourself if you're not ingesting all different types of protein. But that's a topic for another time, probably another channel. I really should get around to starting that fitness channel. Maybe I will someday. But anyways, I stopped being a vegetarian. You know, I only started being a vegetarian because I didn't like the taste of meat when I was a kid. I like the taste of some meats. I liked beef jerky, pepperoni sticks, spicy beef in tacos, and that's about it. I especially hated things like, you know, steak and, anyways, we'll talk about that some other time. But the point is, I really did not like meat, so it was very easy. Once I found out vegetarianism was a thing, when I was like in 7th grade or something like that, I was like, oh, then I'm a vegetarian. But as I explained, I stopped being a vegetarian. But that gets us to PETA, which is, because I had an affinity for them, I feel like I understand their tactics a little more clearly than most people. Now, whether their tactics are good or not is a totally different topic. I would argue that even though what they're trying to accomplish, they are simply not accomplishing, it does remind you that they exist, and that reminds you that there's animal rights thing that exists, and that's really all they're trying to do. But anyways, let's get to how this relates to video game news, or specifically Nintendo news, and that is the Nintendo Switch 1-2 Switch game, where the particular minigame where you're milking a cow. Now, they put out a thing saying, oh, this is not realistic, and a lot of people's reaction is like, no duh, it's a video game. Yeah. They put out a thing saying, no, you don't understand how dairy cows are actually treated. And you know, the sad thing is, without getting into the whole political thing, they really aren't treated that great. At least not, most of them aren't. But the thing is, what I want to talk about, and again, this is very tricky because it's very controversial, but a lot of people think that PETA believes the things that they're saying. Like, you know, they put out a thing a long time ago saying, oh, Mario wearing a Tanuki suit is unethical because clearly he had to skin that Tanuki to wear its suit. They don't actually believe that. They were just using something that was popular at the time, which was, what was it, New Super Mario Bros. 2 or something like that, where Mario once again was wearing a Tanuki suit, and then utilized the popularity of that to talk about animal rights. Now, whether you agree or disagree with animal rights is a whole other thing, but what I want to talk about right now is that they don't literally believe the things that they're putting out there. They're not saying, oh, the 1-2 Switch is unethical because it's not really showing you how to milk a cow. Of course they know that the point of the game is not to educate you about milking cows, it's just a game. Just like, of course they know that Mario doesn't skin Tanukis, which are real animals, in order to wear their skins to fly around. They don't believe that. They're just utilizing the popularity of something to talk about stuff. I don't think it's an effective strategy, though, because really what it does for 99% of the people who see these ads is make them think, well, they're dumb. They really believe that Mario kills Tanukis? No, they don't. They're just... But anyways, it's not an effective strategy in my opinion because it just makes people dislike them. But I think their opinion is bad publicity. Making people dislike them is publicity, which makes you aware they exist. That doesn't really help their cause at all, but for whatever reason, they don't seem to care about that, so... Anyway, the means don't really justify the ends, or the ends don't justify the means. The point is, I just wanted to point out that even though their tactic isn't working, it's not quite what you think it is. They don't literally believe these things. They're just using the hype of these things to have a platform to talk about animal rights in general. But Anyways, let's get on to the final story for the day, which is Hyrule Historia has been released in a different edition. It doesn't contain any new stuff at all, but if you haven't had an opportunity to pick up a copy of Hyrule Historia because it's been in hardback, now Scholastic has printed their own version of it, which, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, this just goes to show how much of a book nerd I was always so excited when they'd hand out those Scholastic flyers at school, in elementary school, and you get to look through all the new books and, you know, put check marks and then get your parents to give you money to buy those books and then wait for, it felt like months for the books to arrive. I always loved that because I enjoy reading books, which you might have noticed because in previous videos I was filming against my library, my bookshelves and whatnot. But anyways, Scholastic has their own version of Hyrule Historia, which is way cheaper than the hardback. But I suspect most of you probably already have Hyrule Historia, so it's probably useless. This is probably just for people who didn't even know Hyrule Historia was a thing or whatever. But anyways, if you want to check out pictures of that, it has a brand new cover. There's a link down there for you. That's it for this episode of Nintendo News. Probably see you guys, probably not tomorrow or even the next day, but probably Wednesday or Thursday for more news. There really hasn't been much to talk about lately. But anyways, see you guys then. Bye.